programs and initiatives to impact student achievement, particularly in mathematics and ELA, as well as our graduation rate. Like I said earlier, 70% of high schools in the state of Georgia did not make AYP this past year. We are not alone. We have a lot of work to do, and we are diligently committed to improving our efforts. Newbern Middle School was also an NI5 school, and this past year, many of you know that they came off of that needs improvement school list. It is possible. And we believe that it is possible for Valdosta High School. However, if the way that AYP is determined, if that is not modified, no school in the state of Georgia or across the United States will make AYP, because it's impossible. And so we are committed to redefining and being part of those efforts to redefine how we measure what is adequate and how we are doing as a school. And we welcome that opportunity, but we realize that it takes the work of our central office, it takes the work of all of our administrators and teachers and our students and parents and community to impact our school. And so we welcome that and appreciate and hope that we will have that input and interest and help as we move forward.
Based on the latest data, approximately 34% of Valdosta High School graduates require remediation when entering college. Do you believe this fact shows that our students are not being prepared for college or the workforce upon graduation? What are your plans to improve that measurement?
I'll try to answer this question too. This is actually another question that I'm not really sure where this data is coming from. In 2008, which is the latest data for which I have seen that the Achieve organization has put out, which is an organization, it's a think tank that looks at graduation rates across Georgia as well as the nation. This is an epidemic problem for many high schools. Currently in the state of Georgia, based on our latest data in 2008, 24% of students that enrolled in post-secondary schools needed remediation. And so I'm not sure where this number is coming from. I would need to see the data source. But yes, many of our students, based on prior graduation data, did need remediation courses. That is one of the reasons that the Board of Regents worked diligently with the Department of Education to revamp the curriculum across our state. That revamped curriculum is the Georgia Performance Standards. Our Georgia Performance Standards closely align to the Common Core standards that Georgia has signed on to implement in the next 2 to 3 years. We are committed to raising the rigor for our students so that they can compete not only in our state and nation, but globally. And so the rigorous standards that are expected of our students now will obviously decrease the number of students that need remediation. But 3 and 5 and 10 years ago, those remediation numbers were significantly high.
One thing, I work closely with Valdosta State University in the area of remediation studies, and if you look at Valdosta State, they actually have what it seems to be like a separate college that is set up for those students who are not quite ready to start at the freshman level. And the last time I checked, it wasn't only Valdosta High School students in that group. You had a lot of students from Lowndes County, you had a lot of students from Lanier, Eccles, and all of the counties that are serviced by VSU. So we have people coming all the way from outside of Atlanta. When they come down here, they need remediation also. So to emphasize it, to make it seem as though it's a Valdosta High School problem, that is incorrect.
I have to step in on this one. We started several years ago to raise the rigor at our elementary level because we realized that that's where the problem starts. If given the opportunity, which we will be given, we will be able to get the kids through the elementary schools with a much greater level of knowledge. Therefore, they don't get to the high school middle schools and then on to college, not being able to do college work. It starts at the elementary schools, and I invite any of you to go to our elementary schools and see the level of instruction, the rigor, the way we're teaching the kids, and then look at the test scores as they improve steadily, and we will be sending students to higher levels with greater knowledge, and that's what it's all about.
When examining the performance of high school students on the state's end-of-course tests, especially African American students and economically disadvantaged students, one sees a significant gap between the academic scores of these students versus the academic scores of other students. What do you plan to do to address this disparity or achievement gap?
Again, this is a complex question, but one of the things that I think any high school teacher would tell you if you ask them this question, every student that takes a course that has an end-of-course test attached to it, and there are 8 courses in the high school, the EOCT course, the EOCT test has been counting 15% of a student's final average of their grade for that course. Many students have not taken that EOCT as seriously as they have the Georgia High School graduation test, because if they're passing that course, they feel comfortable. They may not put forth as much effort on that particular test or take it as seriously. So changing the emphasis from Georgia High School graduation test, which is administered in 11th grade, to actually emphasizing the importance of showing mastery at the end of a course and holding students accountable for that will improve the passing rate for all students and for all subgroups. We are working diligently as a district to address achievement gaps, not just with students, minority students, but also for our economically disadvantaged and our students with disabilities. Again, this is a complex issue, it's multifaceted, but I think one of the things that will be important for our district is emphasizing the importance of the EOCT versus the Georgia High School graduation test.
This question follows several in that same vein. Going forward, the state plans to measure graduation rates using the cohort method, providing a more accurate way to measure graduation rates compared to the previous method used in prior report cards. State officials have been saying that the statewide graduation rate will experience a significant drop when using this new measurement. Do you have an indication on just how this new measurement will affect the graduation rate at Valdosta High School when the data is released later?
We realize that the game has changed. We realize that we're going to have to help our students to meet the new standards so our graduation rate can come back up. It will change drastically, not only for us, but for every high school in this state. What we have to do, and we already have a good start on it, is providing opportunities for students to retake courses that they failed. We're doing credit recovery, we're doing fifth block, we're doing a lot of initiatives to make sure that these students are given the opportunity to stay on track with their graduating class. It will be harder, be more difficult, but we're up to the challenge and we'll make it happen.
Beginning in this school year, 2011-2012, every state in the United States will have to calculate graduation rate based on the students that enroll in 9th grade completing within 4 years. The way that states have calculated graduation rate has varied across the nation, but now we will have a common metric for how we report and measure graduation rate. The last time that rate was publicly reported for the state of Georgia was in 2009, and our data for Valdosta High School, for Valdosta City Schools, our reported graduation rate was 71.5%. Our cohort graduation rate, based on the number of students that enrolled as freshmen and completed in 4 years, not in 4.5 nor 5, but was 53%. That is a difference, but I'd like to say that across the nation, when you look at our reported graduation rate for the state of Georgia, we rank 46th in the nation. So this is not just a Valdosta City Schools issue. This is something that we have to work on diligently as a state to raise, and this is one of the reasons our standards and the rigor within our curriculum was changed and overhauled 6 and 7 years ago, because we recognized as a state that we were not achieving and demonstrating proficiency at the level that we needed to compete nationally. This past year, our graduation rate for AYP was based on the old lever method of which we've calculated graduation rate for the last 6 to 7 years. When the report card data is released by the Governor's Office of Student Achievement in December, it will report our new rate. We won't be held accountable for that until this next AYP round in 2012, but that data will be made available, but we have not seen that data because it hasn't been made public since 2009.
One last question. Do you believe that racially diverse school systems are more successful? And if so, how would you go about achieving more diversity? Well,
I guess I can answer it from my own perspective. As most of you know, I'm not from the South. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I grew up in a very, very diverse environment in a very diverse school system. I believe that because I believe in that type of environment, I've exposed my children to it, and I believe that they're more able to handle certain situations in today's environments that most other children are not. We have to realize that now we're not just us and them, we're us. We have to be able to not only deal with diversity, but we need to be able to handle it in a manner that you won't be able to conduct a business without being able to handle diversity. Your supplier is no longer the person that's around the corner. Your supplier may be from India or China, and you need to be able to deal with diversity, and that means being able to deal with people from different cultures. So I believe that whatever we can do to expose our students, staff, everyone in our community to diversity, it would just make it better.
I concur. Vanessa said it beautifully. You have to provide opportunities, and people have to want it. And obviously, we choose to live in the city because we want our children to grow up in a diverse community, and Valdosta is becoming more and more so. We are now a metropolitan. I'm having trouble hanging on to that pencil. I don't know why. Valdosta is becoming a more and more diverse area. We are now metropolitan status, and you can't force people to live in a certain area, certainly, but if that is this community's desire, then by all means support it. You know, one of the wonderful things that we all hoped that would come out of this open forum was a chance for us to highlight the great things that we do. But it is a chance for us to tell you, you have a great thing going here, and we need your support. Whether or not your children are in the system currently, or you graduated from here or not, or you just moved here like I did 12 years ago, it is a wonderful thing, but we cannot do it alone, and we have to have the support of the community and the parents, and we so much appreciate you coming tonight and giving that to us and showing us your interest.
That concludes the questions that were written on cards. We have microphones set up in the aisle. Is there anyone in the audience who has a question that is burning but was not answered? If so, please come forward to a microphone.
Yes, somebody touched on it earlier, but I don't know if it was answered completely. What are the chances of the property taxes in the city and the county to go up with a consolidation effort if it goes through? What are the chances of that happening? Thank you.
Based on statements that I made earlier, I feel that there is a significant chance that the taxes would have to go up because of the expense of consolidating the two districts. You remember I mentioned earlier the technology issues and the textbook issues. Those two issues alone are going to create a sizable expense that hasn't been accounted for or mentioned at this point.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Henderson.